Hey there, true believers. You're tuned into Baxter Building Radio via the Negative Zone feed. Welcome to episode 9 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. I'm your host, Nate Charles, and I'm joined by my co-host, Shane Murray. How you doing today, Shane?
All right, how you doing today, bud?
Oh, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Just ready to sit down and talk about this wonderful book we have to talk about today. We are coming off the 4th of July, though. How was your 4th?
It was all right. Uh, didn't really do anything spectacular. Didn't do anything unspectacular. Just kind of existed. How about you?
I worked an overnight shift going into the 4th, so I ended up doing about a total of 16 hours and then managed to come home and just pass out. Lots of sleep. So didn't go and see any fireworks, didn't go and eat any burgers or hot dogs or anything, which is probably good for my diet. Uh, but yeah, pretty uneventful 4th of July aside from working some overtime.
Gross.
But if I want to do fun things like go to conventions and go on some trips and contribute my fair share to this podcast to keep us up and running.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no fireworks or anything for you either.
I went to fireworks, but it's like the same ones I go to every year. Like I said, just normal Fourth. Wasn't anything exuberant that happened.
You're able to watch this from your backyard though, right?
No, this is like a private show I go to.
Oh,
That's up on a hill that's not too far away.
okay. All right. Well, still sounds like fun. Kids have fun.
Liam doesn't go. He doesn't do fireworks. Booms. No loud booms. But Freya did have fun, yeah. But yeah, Liam doesn't do any fireworks, nothing like that. Too loud.
That's understandable. It's not for everyone. So we're recording this episode on July 6th. Our last episode we recorded on June 30th. Uh, and just after we recorded that episode, uh, news broke. Well, maybe didn't break. I heard the news about Jim Shooter passing. Of course, Jim Shooter, he was the Marvel Comics editor in chief from 1978 to 1987. He was also the founder of Valiant Comics in 1989 and then Defiant Comics in 1993. He was a huge force at Marvel, oversaw a lot of Marvel's successful boom period there in the late 70s, early 80s. He was also instrumental over there in actually getting creators treated a bit better. There was an art return program that he instituted, and there was also a creator royalty policy that came in under him as well, which when books would pass certain sales marks or when characters created by, certain writers or artists were being licensed, they would get a cut back, which wasn't always the case. Um, he also had some controversial periods there as well, but who does not? We're going to stick to the positive here. But yeah, you and I both got a chance to meet Mr. Shooter back last year at Hershey Comic Con, did we not?
Yeah, we did. We absolutely did. Seemed like a pleasant fellow. Like you said, everyone has their trials and tribulations they go through life, but overall, always seemed like he was a good guy. And I didn't get to talk to him as much as you did. I didn't take him places.
No, it was actually one of the cool things about working that show was I was assigned to be uh, the driver for both Jim Shooter and for Bob Wycheck, who is a fantastic anchor. And riding with them for 2.5 hours in the car from New York back to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and just being privy to the stories that they told about the Marvel Comics bullpen in the late 70s through the mid 80s. Like those are some of the coolest moments of my life, man. Like those are memories I'm gonna cherish forever is hearing that conversation and being able to chat the two of them up about that time. Also, I don't know if I ever told you, but Jim Shooter probably paid me one of the greatest compliments I feel I've ever received.
Oh,
Yeah. So During that drive, we ended up making a restaurant. It was like a Sheetz or a Wawa or something. I don't remember exactly what, but I have a very bad habit. I wouldn't guess I wouldn't call it a bad habit. Some people call it a bad habit. I know it annoyed my dad when I was a kid at the very least. But you know, if I'm walking into a building, there's someone following behind me. Obviously, it's common courtesy to hold open a door. Now, I won't do that for just one person. If there is a, whole crowd of people behind me, I will gladly let them in, especially if I'm not necessarily in a rush. And, when you're waiting for 4 or 5 people to use facilities, pick up snacks, whatever, you're not necessarily in a rush. But between people in the car and those also going to Sheets, I stood there holding the door for maybe a good minute. Jim Shooter told me afterwards, he was like, not many people would do that these days. A lot of people are thinking only of themselves in a hurry to get somewhere. And I just said back to him, I do it because it's the way I'd want to be treated. I feel like you genuinely get the good back in this world that you put out into it, no matter how small. And he looked at me and he goes, that sounds like something I would do. That's really good. And that's stuck with me over the past year. I've gone through some a little bit of tough times over the past year and had some doubts and whatnot. But every time I do, it's one of the things I think about. It's kept me going. So kind of sad that last time I saw him, he was at Allentown, I want to say, Lehigh Valley Comic Con, and I didn't take the opportunity to talk to him. It's one of those things that you never really express to people the kind of impact that they have on your life, no matter how big or small. And then you kind of wish you can once you can't anymore. But here's to Jim Shooter. May he
Yeah,
rest in peace. How you feeling about getting down to today's book, Shane?
the funky. Let's get down and funky, buddy.
All right, so what are we covering today, Shane?
Superman and Fantastic Four, also known as the Infinite Destruction.
That is correct. And why are we covering this today?
Soups comes out this week, next week, relatively soon.
Talking about chicken noodle, French onion.
I said soups. I
Okay,
didn't
so
say
both.
soup. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right. We got Superman coming out on July 11th. James Gunn's Superman. How you feeling about this movie, Shane?
I've been trying to stay away from any trailers. Speaking of, I got really mad because I was watching a baseball game the other day and that new trailer for Fantastic Four came out like 2 weeks ago. I have never watched it until it was on in the middle of like the seventh inning the other day. I was pissed because I wasn't paying attention and I looked up and there it was and I was like,
You should have stopped paying attention.
but my eyes already were drawn
Just
there.
just tuned out. You have a neck. Like you can look away. You have
I
eyelids. You can close them.
that's not how that works, man.
Put your hands over your ears and scream la 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 la. Oh, I'm sorry that that happened to you.
I've been bitching about it to Aaron for like days. It pissed me off for
I
days.
also have been going out of my way to not read up or watch anything related to upcoming movies that I might be interested in because I have a bad habit of getting my hopes up and then feeling somewhat disappointed when they don't meet those expectations. Uh, unless I see stuff in the wild, like a movie theater or like a TV commercial or something, which I have seen all the Fantastic Four trailers because they'll pop up here and there. At this day and age, you just can't avoid it, sadly.
I was doing so good, dude. I would have went through a whole month if I wasn't watching baseball. If I was on a day where I didn't want to watch baseball, but I watch more baseball than I don't, so I guess it's my own fault.
Well, that's the thing. You see commercials and it just happens.
I hate commercials.
Go watch the game live. Maybe you won't have that problem. You'll be broke, like really broke, but at least
Oh
you won't get
yeah.
spoiled for your movies.
Yeah. Baseball games are even going to like minor league games get pricey real fast.
All right, so like you said, we are reviewing Superman, Fantastic Four, The Infinite Destruction, cover dated for April of 1999, released the day before on March 31st, 1999. Cover price was $9.95. You care to take a guess what it's valued at today?
Um, do you mean valued at or what people are selling it for online?
So I'm gonna go with valued at because what I would normally use for the latter would be price charting, and unfortunately I was not able to find it on there, so I ended up digging into an Overstreet guide for this one, the 2025 Overstreet guide. So we are up to date, and maybe if we get a listener base who comes to this, we'll ruin a lot of people's dreams who are selling this thing on eBay for $100.
Dude, on eBay, everywhere, it's nowhere. The cheapest copy I saw was $67.
Cool. Overstreet values it at 10.
Well, aren't they wrong?
So I'm going to be real with you. If you're paying 10 times that amount, don't. And if they don't sell it for 10 times that amount, they can't move it for 10 times that amount. The price will go back down to where it belongs.
I don't think this book's ever going back down, buddy.
Oh, I mean, prices fluctuate all the time. There are several. I was actually watching a video the other day about a lot of keys that have died off. Stuff that used to retail for $100 that now sells for, 15, 20, maybe less.
Doesn't seem like it's a key at that point then.
Well, it technically is because you're dealing with the first appearances of characters and whatnot, but you'd be amazed how badly Disney Plus TV shows and movies have affected key values.
Nope, wouldn't, absolutely wouldn't be surprised at all.
So, creative team on this book, we have writer and penciler Dan Jurgens. Actually, uh,
Layout penciler.
yeah, layout art is Dan Jurgens. There's a difference here. Finishes were done by Art Thibert. Colorist was Gregory Wright. Letterer Bill Oakley. And there's a four-person editor team on this book, which makes me believe that this has been in development for a while. So you have L.A. Williams, Mike Carlin, Mark Gruenwald, and Bobby Chase as the editing team. And the reason why I think this has been in the works for a while is that Mark Gruenwald actually passed away in August of 1996, almost 3 years prior to when this book was released. So, you know, when it comes to these intercompany crossovers between DC and Marvel, you got to keep in mind that there's a lot of back and forth. These books get shuffled to Marvel and then back over to DC and then back to Marvel because with every change, everyone wants their company's character to still look strong in the process. So we're looking at least a 3 year turnaround time, if not more, on Superman Fantastic Four. And then the cover is actually Dan Jurgens' pencils, which are then gone over by Alex Ross.
Yeah,
So, Shane, you want to go ahead and take us through said cover, please?
yeah. So the cover is great because it's a wraparound cover. And on the front, you have Superman and the Fantastic Four and half of Krypton. And then on the back half, you have the other part of Krypton and Galactus. And then I guess I missed this part, which I didn't really miss. I was bringing it up with Galactus. Galactus actually, because of the size he is, he comes off the back and into the front with his hand reaching out like he's looking to grab all of the members of the previous team that I just mentioned in one foul swoop.
And we've got some questions that are asked here on the rear of the cover, such as Galactus, Devourer of Krypton, Superman, Herald of Galactus, the Fantastic Four, Earth's Only Hope, and then it wraps up with the infinite destruction is upon us. All right, Shane. So we open the book. We have our credits page, which also has Krypton exploding. And moving into our first page, we have the scene set as the past. And what are we seeing?
Oh man. So we see some smoke rising from what we know as Krypton and the usual Krypton's about to explode type of image. And then you see a second panel of Galactus sitting on his throne, just looking at Krypton about to explode. And then You see Galactus see a ship fly away from Krypton as it's mid-explosion.
And who's in that ship there, Shane?
None other than Kal-El himself, or Clark Kent, or Superman, whatever you'd like to refer to him as.
So, yeah, and how is he seeing all these things, Shane?
Through like a pop-up monitor.
In the first
The,
panel, it looks like he has a probe deployed to Krypton.
yeah, but like the probe is there, but it also like to it's super sci-fi. I really like the whole thing with the probe going around and then him having like a panel that just pops up in the middle of like wherever he's standing. He can just be like, I just want to see this.
Very convenient. Okay, and then we turn the page, and what do we have here?
Oh man. One of my this was my runner-up for my panel, by the way. This is not my panel, but I will let you know that this is my runner-up, and it was very close to being my panel. But we have a beautiful shot of the top half of Galactus and him having a target on the ship leaving Krypton and him deciding his choices of what he's going to do.
And what we follow up that shot with is also a very nice downward perspective shot on Galactus as he uses the power cosmic, and he ends up kind of I don't really want to call this a probe, but it's more like a tracking module that he designs and infuses with some of the power cosmic, and then he ships it uh, off across the galaxy in pursuit of this ship.
Yeah, it's a fantastic like this really does give you these first couple things here give you just such a great look at like how powerful Galactus is and how easily should just be able to do whatever he wants. It makes him look terrifying.
And then on the next page, we're shunted into the present, Shane, and take us through that.
Oh yeah, we come out from the like a wormhole there. There's basically a key crystal that from Krypton that seems to be heading to Earth. And from that, there's a pod that pod that he sent tracking to Earth. We see someone emerge also and follow that key to Earth.
So I'm not entirely certain that he emerges from this whatever it is emerges from the pod. It looks like this person's just chilling out on a LexCorp satellite and takes notice of this crystal and then goes to interfere with it. At least that's how I interpreted it.
It's possible. But I think somewhere in there he talks about following that probe.
He may have tracked it via the LexCorp satellite, in fact.
You may have.
So we move on to the next page where we see downtown Metropolis, which you can tell thanks to the giant L-shaped LexCorp tower, where we have a crowd being held back by the police, and it looks like there is just a giant, well, we find out it's a giant bomb in the middle of downtown Metropolis, and it's surrounded by the Special Crimes Unit, or as we'll call them from here on out, the SCU, which is led by Captain Maggie Sawyer. Give us the rundown on who Captain Sawyer is.
On who Captain Sawyer is?
Yeah, you're the Superman guy.
I'm the Superman guy. I do like Superman a lot. So I wouldn't say that I'm the Superman guy. And you know I'm the worst at giving out history like that, bud. You're the comic savant with all that stuff that just like floats around up there.
Sigh. Um,
Don't sigh. Like there's things I can tell you, like big member of a big supporting part of Superman. And like I can tell you that about a lot of things. the things that I like, can spew off the back of my head, no problem, is always Ninja Turtles. And you know this because they do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. They never change it. They just change if Karai is freaking Splinter's kid or if he's Shredder's kid or she's Shredder's kid. I even said Karai was a he. God, bleh.
Well, now that I've thoroughly broken you. Uh, so Maggie Sawyer is a character who was created by John Byrne back in Volume 2 of Superman number 4 in April of 1987. She is notable as being one of the earlier LGBTQ characters in comics. And she heads the Metropolis Special Crimes Unit, and she's partnered with Dan Turpin. Tell me who Dan Turpin is.
I love that you're like, tell me who Dan Turpin is. We just went over this.
Dan Turpin, who was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and was originally part of the Boy Commandos, and then grew up and became a police officer.
I'm putting in my notes next time. If character Nate asks questions about character, have information. Literally writing it right now. You're good. Go, go.
I'm proud of you, buddy. But these two characters are notable because, I mean, Turpin created by Jack Kirby, Sawyer created by John Byrne. They are tangentially linked at best to Fantastic, well, not Fantastic Four creators, but you could say to the Fantastic Four in that sense, via people who had what are generally considered the best runs on the book.
That's fair.
Take us through the next page, Shane.
The next page where when Superman shows up.
Yeah,
Oh
this
man, this
beautiful splash.
dude, it is a beautiful splash page. Though, with digital colors. Whew.
What about the digital colors? Can you share your screen?
No, I can't. Here, I'll send you it. And you'll get it. Because I'm pretty sure you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Let me know if you get that.
I do have it. Let's see what we're looking at. No, it is very similar. It might be slightly more saturated.
Yeah, that digital
I'm gonna s-
sometimes doesn't work.
I'm going to go ahead and send you mine, and you can be the judge.
Hmm. Your nice and touched up one because they like to touch up the stuff but when they put them in the omnibuses.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, they definitely touch that up. But still, with the concrete, you can see that. Like that, I have a hard time with that. Like, just color it in, man. Anyway, beautiful
And yeah,
splash page. I digress. Beautiful splash page either way. I do like that they touched it up and made the shadows more w work a little bit more on this one.
so on the next page, Superman is with the Special Crimes Unit, and he takes a look at the bomb with his heat vision, and he fries the timer, and then is tipped off to the fact that someone is trying to detonate it with a radio signal backup device. And he goes ahead and spots what's going on and what happens.
Oh man, he takes off right for that device. So in the panel that page you're just talking about, he says coming from, and then the next page, he has that beautiful zoom where he's there, that beautiful Superman pose, and then they're trying to hit him with lasers, like that's gonna work on him, and they're like, oh, they're trying to blow up and make whatever. What did they say? Death to America and her accursed servant. So they're purposely attacking Superman.
Which, you
because
say about how beautiful the Superman art is. We really should make mention of the fact that Dan Jurgens is Superman royalty. As far as a
oh,
creator goes, he was one of the leading creators behind Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman. All the I believe he might be wrong, but I think he started in the late 80s and he was on that book at least until the mid 90s. And I think he actually may have been on the book when it came out as well. I know he took a brief break and went over to Spider-Man, but then he came back to Superman. And yeah, he's just
oh yeah.
phenomenal with Superman characters.
He might have some of my favorite Superman stuff, which is saying something because I really like Burn Superman. But yeah, this I just think if you're thinking about what Superman should look like, it's this right here. This is Superman. It's so weird that they changed the transition from this to a Superman book to like the Fantastic Four book. It does a good job of get intertwining them, but like the beginning of this is like, oh, it's just Superman.
Very much so. So on the next page, Superman is actually confronted by this crystal, which seems like a very heavy-handed change up, honestly. But he's struck by the fact that it looks like it's Kryptonian in origin, and he's confronted by a hologram of his father, Jor-El, who fills him in on the fact that uh, he had originally thought Krypton's death was a result of natural occurrences, but he has discovered that a being accelerated the process. And who is that being, Shane? Which we find out on
It
the next
is.
page.
It was Galactus that basically this energy key card or crystal has with the image of Jor-El has told him that Galactus was the one that he was wrong for all those years thinking that it was natural causes. Galactus was slowly eating it, or at least sped it up quite rapidly towards the end of its before its destruction.
So hearing this, Superman recognizes that name that he has heard from heroes from another universe, and that he would never suspect that he'd travel between universes, he being Galactus. So he takes off to find experts. But he says, and I quote, and to find them, I need access. What does he mean by that, Shane?
Um, by access,
Yes.
for me when I was reading it, because I wasn't thinking ahead like you are and have all these beautiful notes. I just thought that he needed access to the other universe. And I'm assuming he was going to use some kind of portal that he invented or Star Labs invented to go to another.
This actually goes a little bit deeper than that. So Axis is actually a whole other character. Axis is named Axel Asher. He is actually a resident of the Marvel Universe created by Ron Mars and Dan Jurgens, who first appeared in DC versus Marvel #1 in December of 1995. Well, at least cover dated for December of 1995. He is more or less a mediator between two cosmic beings known as the Brothers, one who represented the DC universe and one who represented the Marvel universe. And they all picked a bunch of champions to duke it out, being this whole there can only be one scenario. And then they decided, oh, hey, since Batman and Captain America fought to a draw, uh, we'll just merge into one being, which created the Amalgam universe. And then Access was key in actually re-separating the brothers and, having them kind of come to a truce where they could coexist. So, one of his superpowers is that he can teleport at will between the DC and Marvel universe and across alternate timelines. So, Superman's going to go see this fella
This is in
because
your omnibus that you're reading.
this is not in my omnibus that I'm reading. This is. This is in my brain from having read that miniseries 30 years ago.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast. How do you remember something from 30 years ago?
Bro, there's a reason that I'm single. Like, so we end up when we go to the next page switching up our scene. What do we have going on?
We see a dock with number four on it, pier number four, as they like to call it. And you see Franklin hanging out with playing with his action figures that are some DC and some Marvel action figures. And you get a beautiful TV, somewhat, I don't know, really weird sh shaped TV, or there's something in the way of the TV that has like a picture of Bat or Superman the animated series in the background. And then he starts running to go talk to Ben.
Yes, his Uncle Ben. Uh, so are you aware of the whole Pier 4 situation?
Nope.
So Fantastic Four owned a warehouse on the docks in Manhattan for storage purposes, I believe, but they turned it into their home slash headquarters when they came back from the Heroes Return universe because the Baxter building, or actually, I think at the time it was Four Freedoms Plaza, was occupied by the Thunderbolts.
Okay, fair enough.
So that is why they are located at Pier 4.
I feel
And
like they would have just took it back though.
yeah, well, I think there were some legal issues or whatnot. We'll get to that when we cover Heroes Return someday.
20 years later.
Oh God, I hope it's not that long. I feel like we'll get to it sooner than that. Maybe a decade. We'll see.
It's like 50 years of history we're going through, 60 years of
Yeah, but
history.
you know that we swap things up here. Like,
That's
we're
fair.
going through Lee and Kirby and we have a plan for rotating in John Byrne, but we also have a plan for getting through miniseries and story arcs and shorter runs. And yeah, we'll bounce around here a little bit. So when we go to the next page, we get another splash.
Oh yeah.
And this time we have Franklin uh, holding his Superman action figure, and he is dwarfed by the thing and also the machine that the thing is dealing with. Can you describe to me what that is?
Um, so I always think of it as it's like for me in my brain, that's the Superman thing that they always use to test how much strong Superman is. And I love the comparison of seeing the thing trying to pick up this giant weighted thing to see
Yeah,
how strong he is because Reed's trying to figure out how powerful the thing is.
and Franklin is bummed, and therefore Ben is bummed because Ben missed the latest episode of Superman on TV.
Yeah, and Ben is
However, it is
also bummed.
established on the previous page that though he's a cartoon character in the Marvel universe, Franklin is aware, thanks to his parents and his uncles, that Superman is real in another universe. Now, something that I did want to get to this book did kind of throw me for a little bit of a loop here because when you read some of the original Marvel and DC crossovers, particularly Superman meets the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, uh, they don't bother to really set up the fact that these characters are in different universes. It's more or less like they just coexist in the same universe, which I kind of expected from this because I don't know, there's just something that sits oddly with me with the idea of Galactus is traversing different universes and could be responsible for the destruction of Krypton when it just seems like it would be a lot less of a plot contrivance if you just have them be in separate universe. Though this was a couple years after that DC versus Marvel crossover, so maybe they wanted to have the continuity there because Dan Jurgens was a big part of writing that series. But I don't know. It just seemed strange to me.
So that threw off the whole book for you. That was
It
like that.
didn't throw off the whole book for me. It just seemed like, I don't know. It just seemed like something that didn't necessarily have to be added, but
I
that's just
mean,
me.
he's Galactus. I just figured he can do whatever the heck he wants to do because he's Galactus. He can just travel space-time continuums.
So as on the next page, as you said, Reed is attempting to discern the difference in power levels between Johnny and Ben. So what's going on?
So you have Johnny like blasting into like a container. I'm not sure how that he's used what he's using. Like the I'm guessing the heat that's coming off of Johnny, but it wouldn't be yellow if it was going to be like more powerful because you, you'll go hotter. As you go hotter, the heat goes clear. So I'm not sure exactly where the how he's getting these power levels for what's going on between the two. But it certainly looks like the thing is losing this because he is in a bad position. That is not a good spot to be. Looks hella uncomfortable.
This is also our technically our first glimpse that we get, at least on the interior, of the Heroes Return Fantastic Four uniforms. Can you describe what those look like for me?
They're blue and white and obvious. Well, I guess that's kind of obvious. But they move the four to the left. Yeah, they move it down to the left and kind of have like the V, like the cut. It's like a weird, it's like the reverse of Next Generation's. Instead of Next Generation having like the salt, like the color and then the black on the bottom, they did the white cut, side cut on the top and then the blue on the bottom. That's how I look at it.
So,
My,
so do you like this change up?
yeah, I don't mind it. It's very, it seems very of the time. It seems very 90s. How do you feel about it, bud?
I mean, I don't mind it. I've always had a soft spot for the blue and white trimmed uniforms, just because that's what they were when I started reading, and this is just, you know, kind of an alternative to that. Um, Definitely has a bit more of a very well late 90s look as far as design. When I look at these, I actually ironically think of the Dan Jurgens Ben Riley design for Spider-Man. Just for whatever reason, the giant spider logo just makes me think of that because the four on here is very large, even though it should be noted that Dan Jurgens didn't design these uniforms. So, Reed notes the danger that's occurring in this room with him testing Ben and Johnny's power levels, and Sue takes Franklin out to get a snack, where he reclarifies that Superman is real, or at least somewhere he's real. And we follow that up with a two-page spread, not a splash, but spread over 2 pages. Well, where it becomes apparent to Sue that the defense systems for Pier 4 have been taken offline, and she advises Franklin to stay close and admonishes him on using the word ain't, which I thought was a nice touch, very nice motherly touch. And they are confronted by whom, Shane?
By Superman.
Who they then take to see Reed. Ben and Johnny are very much surprised to see the Man of Steel walking through their headquarters.
Hmm.
And uh, Superman, much to Reed's, I don't really want to say surprise. It's he definitely didn't consider the possibility, but he brings up whether or not Galactus could have traveled to the DC universe.
Yeah, Reed is very looks very puzzled. It's a I like when Reed's uncomfortable. He reads better that way.
And he presents that crystal to Reed, and what happens?
Oh yeah, it lights up the whole thing and kind of explodes. Really, it looks like it scares Johnny and Ben right away because Ben like uses that weight to try to protect him from the explosion.
Well, I don't think not to call into question what you said, but um, it looks like what happens is from the dialogue and whatnot is that the weight on that actually increases exponentially and nearly crushes the thing.
That's also maybe possible.
Because Johnny notes that it's an energy surge that is attacking their equipment and advises Ben to get out from under it before what happens. So Reed's frantically investigating the equipment. He says it's impossible that these things should have been able to affect it like it did that whatever's happening should have been able to affect the hydraulic press like it did. But we have a disembodied voice that taunts Superman and activates the building's defenses to fire rockets at him or laser beams or something. It fires an energy shot at him.
It says Shazam, so I'm assuming like a laser, yeah.
And Superman is just very quick to protect Franklin, who is then put into a force field by Sue. When we turn the page, what's happening?
When we turn the page with so again we have a thing that goes across the two pages and we see Reed kind of like panicked because the defenses are going off and Johnny's flames completely on. Uh he gets hit with like a water gun, which I think is hilarious. And Ben breaks out from his prison that was that metal weight that was bearing down on him.
Well, he does it with some assistance here.
He does do it with some assistance, which
Superman
is
definitely does
Superman.
probably most of the heavy lifting.
Superman. Superman definitely looks like he put a big old hole in it with a fist. It says scrunch. So, yeah. Superman helped him out. And then there's still more lasers going. And
Yeah, Ben
bu- bu-
takes a
bum.
direct hit.
He does take a direct hit. And then it looks like it looks like it gets breaks out of the pier, or there's definitely a hole in there somewhere. I don't know what actually happens.
It looks like one of these energy cannons, one of these energy blasts, uh, blew a hole in the wall of Pier 4, and there appears to be another probe that has homed in on, I believe, Superman.
Oh yeah.
And this probe on the next page actually uh, catches Superman in its energy beam. Should also be noted that the next page is also a double page spread. Hits Superman with an energy beam, and it, I guess, captures him inside of it. The Torch attempts to pursue, but Reed takes note that this craft has a design that is remarkably similar to those of used by Galactus. Meanwhile, from the wreckage of the Fantastic Four's machinery, a body begins to assemble itself, and we discover who was trailing Superman.
Yeah, none
And
other than Cyborg Superman.
tell me about Cyborg Superman, Shane.
Uh, what would you like to know about Cyborg Superman? Why do you like to put me on the spot? This is like a game to you, I swear it.
So I think Cyborg Superman is a brilliant choice for this story, which we do find out later, but it's another Dan Jurgens creation. Hank Henshaw, brilliant scientist who took three of his friends up with him into space and they were bombarded by radiation. They crash land to Earth and they have amazing powers. And then all of them die horribly. Terrible deaths. Just the worst. But he is almost a dark variant of Reed Richards from the DC universe.
Yeah, really, he really is.
He can inhabit and control machines, and he built himself a cyborg body with resemblance to Superman, and then pretended to be Superman for a while Superman was dead. And then he blew up Green Lantern's hometown at Coast City and drove that guy mad. And poor Hal Jordan.
Yeah, Hank Henshaw is a character.
And what does Henshaw do as his first act now that he has his own body back?
Well, as his first act, Johnny lights him on fire after he fully assembles.
I don't think he's lighting him on fire. I think that is Cyborg Superman, and he's
You
putting
think?
off energy that one hurts Reed, and two he just blasts Ben.
Is that Cyborg Superman?
Yeah,
That's a really weird, like, rendering of him.
yeah. It took me a moment too when I initially read this because it is definitely a strange rendering of him. I'm assuming he's just not fully assembled yet.
Oh yeah, because it says you're right. My parents could use an adjustment. Simple when you melt everything in sight, and then he literally just blazes at the thing.
You can tell it's the thing because he's got four fingers.
That's what I was gonna say. You can tell the thing 'cause he's got four fingers. All right. Then we used to go into chapter two.
Ah, yes, the power cosmic. And here we see Johnny still in pursuit of the craft that has Superman within inside of it. And Superman punches his way through the hull. But as we can see on the inside of the hull, we can see Galactus's eyes uh, looking down menacingly at Superman as he is just bombarded with power cosmic radiation.
Oh yeah. Just absolutely like lamb blasted with it. And then after that, we get more Cyborg Superman and the Fantastic Three that's left on Earth. And you see Cyborg Superman be very upset that he was giving the power cosmic to Superman. He was like, give it to me instead. Sue, very concerned about him possibly getting it. The Cyborg Superman crashing off the side of that ship.
Actually, he crashes
And
off the invisible force field that
oh, yeah,
Sue put
yeah.
up between him and the ship.
Again, not getting to do this panel by panel makes it a little rough on the thing. And then the process begins of him becoming the Herald of Galactus. At him, I mean Superman, not Cyborg Superman.
And the page wraps up with a real nice flash of light with a good.
Yeah, flash. Like blinding, which is very on par for any Fantastic Four book, is someone to be blinded by
I will admit, and it hasn't
light.
it hasn't been on purpose, but we have encountered this a lot.
Dude, I just watched earlier when we were eating dinner, I was watching Fantastic Four, the 2000s one. Um,
The first one,
Not the movie, the cartoon.
World's Greatest Heroes.
Girls' Grace Heroes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the one where the Hulk first shows up. And again, that trope happens in that. It's like just a trope. I was like, "Oh my God, the blinding light. It works every time."
Hey, if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
I'm telling you.
Speaking on blending light on the next page, we see a golden figure just radiating light, and he addresses Galactus with a very direct master.
Yeah.
Reed is very concerned about what has happened to Superman, and he now confronts Superman, who is capeless, um, and just completely gold.
Yeah, how do you feel about the gold?
So, considering what we have seen as far as other Heralds of Galactus, I mean, it reminds me very much of the Silver Surfer and Nova. But then I also think about, you had Terex and Morgan. They had very different designs. They weren't just like chrome plated. So while I feel like it's on brand, I there's a part of me that would have liked to seen a bit more of a Superman-esque transformation. Like Terex kind of looked like the same despot that he was, only he was turned into rock. I would have almost preferred to have seen something like that. I guess I wouldn't say I'd prefer it, but it's on brand. But I feel like there was an opportunity where they could have done something traditional yet different. I mean, he still has the S symbol on his chest, the S shield. So yeah, it's hard to put my finger. I have mixed opinions on it.
Yeah, it felt too Silver Surfery for me also, not gonna lie. But the S was there, so I was letting it go.
So Reed attempts to wrap Superman up in his arms to keep him from going anywhere, but both he and Superman end up being teleported away.
Yeah, they do. And then you see they're gone from Johnny like arrives there just slightly late, it looks like, as they disappear. And then you see Cyborg Superman in what I would call a pill capsule. This is kind of what it looks like. He's in his pill capsule and they're all discussing, oh no, what do we do from here? Ben gets awfully frustrated and thinks that he can fix it himself. And Sue, using her intellect, realizes that their best bet is to work with Cyborg Superman to try to get Reed back and stop Superman from being the Herald of Galactus.
Which again, I think this is brilliant because they just lost Reed, right? And it's his dark analog that is going to be traveling with them.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So Cyborg Superman confesses to having uh, destroyed an entire Earth city, which completely puts Ben off of working with him. Though Sue does make it so cooler heads prevail, and she frees Cyborg Superman so that he can guide them to Galactus. And then we find Reed and Superman on Galactus' ship, where Reed is trying to appeal to Superman's humanity, or at least what's left of it. He's trying to, get him to remember, that he fights for humanity and to try to resist Galactus's call. But before he can do so, what do they come across?
They come across Galactus. He's so big and towering. It's like I feel like they even have him undersized in this book.
Yeah, they do. I will agree. I feel like he is undersized in this panel.
He is like, because I'm just going by aspect ratios. Like most of the time, when you look at someone next to Galactus, they're not even like they're like the size of his finger.
I keep thinking back to the panel. It's like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four fighting Galactus, and there's a shot of Captain America with his shield, and he's like going for Galactus's toe because with his arms raised over his head, he can just get it to where he can strike a blow on Galactus's toe. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like the perspective here is real off, or I don't know, maybe it's just me. Still terrifying. I mean, terrifying figure just to run across in general. Maybe he has like a power down mode for when he's flying across the universe in a ship. Because
perhaps.
how big would that ship have to be if it was going to fit a being that's the size of a universe?
Yeah, you'd think it would have to be At least the size of Earth's moon, right?
Yeah, if not, I don't know. It has to be really large, ungodly large. So yeah, we run into Galactus. Galactus basically tells Superman that he's now his and he's hungry and I'm gonna need you to go, satisfy his hunger. Reed's still trying to get to Superman, but Superman is just lost in the power cosmic or the brainwashing that Galactus gave him. And then Galactus gives him that finalization of the power with the I beams.
Now, Reed does manage to coax a moment of clarity out of Superman here because he does talk about his love. He does mention his loved ones, and Superman says Lois, and that's interrupted by Galactus
Hmm.
using his eye beams then to finalize the change in Superman. So we get another double page spread following this, where Superman then goes to leave and seek out worlds for Galactus to devour. Reed makes mention of Lois and attempts to hold Superman back using his elasticity to wrap him around himself. And then Superman more or less electrifies himself to get Reed to release him. And then he goes forth from Galactus's ship into the cosmos. And Reed chastises Galactus about taking the last son of a dead planet to do his dirty work and how that will sully the memory of Krypton, which, I actually really like that moment. I like the idea that Reed is invested in the legacy of the cosmos almost, or he's invested in the legacy of the cosmos. He's seen so much of it. He's a scientist. Um, he's a genius. I can only imagine he's an historian. It feels like something that would be very important to read.
Oh,
Um,
you're right. Reed does a great job of bringing the humanity to this book with him trying to call out for call out to bring Superman back from being the Herald and try to tell Galactus he's just being a terrible person from using the last person. There like these are just some of the things where I was like, oh, Reed does use that brain for things other than science once in a while. Maybe that's why Sue likes him.
yeah. But as we end, I mean, Reed is alone on Galactus. It was alone on the ship with Galactus.
So you see Franklin holding Superman, the action figure by his feet. You see the Fantastic Four spacecraft that has been modified by Cyborg Superman so that they could travel further through the galaxy to try to catch up with um where Superman and Reed were teleported. And Ben basically telling him that he will fly the ship. And then on the next page you have the rundown of Cyborg Superman's story about him going up into space. They have a really good um like panel by panel of like what happened for them and them coming back. Like the Fantastic Four going up, getting bombarded with radiation, turning into them, and his crew going up, getting bombarded with radiation, and then coming back dead.
Yeah, it's a great juxtaposition, honestly, because the first two panels of that story, side by side, are more or less the same. And then you have Reed wrapping up Ben after the crash and elasticity, showing place in their powers, whereas the second panel for Henshaw's story is literally Superman looking at a skull. And then where it shows the four putting their hands together to make the agreement to protect mankind, you have Cyborg Superman detonating Coast City. Just, it's really well done just to show how far off the rails two incredibly similar situations have gone from each other.
Yeah, it's I really do enjoy the little back and forth they got going on with that whole situation.
And then we see Franklin actually gives Sue his Superman action figure to take with her for good luck. And she informs him that Caledonia, his babysitter, will be over to take care of him, and tells Franklin that she loves him. And Franklin tells her not to get mushy because you know what 5 or 6 year old child is not going to tell their mom that, right? They board the ship and they rocket out from Pier 4. Still looks like Cyborg Superman's in the pilot's seat. Meanwhile, Superman is zigzagging across the cosmos, and he finds a planet for Galactus to devour, um, one that is untouched by intelligent life. And then he sends a telepathic signal to Galactus to come to this planet and have his feast.
Yep. So then we get Galactus coming to, said planet to have his feast and getting ready to harvest it. And this is where you start to see a little bit of that Superman coming back, just a hair, because Galactus then challenges him if he picked this planet specifically because it had no life. And Superman says that he based the selection on the criteria of proximity and potential energy and no more. And Galactus is like, so be it, and then begins to process it. And then the next page we have Superman be looks like it's Superman on my end. I don't know about in your book where it says hold.
Yeah, it's Superman.
Sense I sense a disturbance. We are not alone. And you see the Fantastic Four ship arrive, and you see them all about to witness the utter destruction of their planet. None of them are real happy except for Cyborg, but Cyborg's not happy because he just wants to be Galactus's best friend.
Yeah, and of course we all know that in the end, that is not necessarily even his true goal. I mean, Cyborg Superman can't be trusted. Once he has ultimate power, he'll obviously betray someone.
Oh, clearly.
So Galactus then dispatches Superman to keep the Fantastic Four from interfering with his harvest of this planet. The Torch, just a ballsy move, immediately goes to engage Superman, uh, blast him with a flame blast ball. Ben goes for Galactus's ankles and immediately pays for it with an eye blast from Galactus. Reed, meanwhile, is being held captive in Galactus's ship. Now, I'm really interested by this because Reed is basically in a cube, but it has no gaps whatsoever in it. It's just a completely solid, transparent cube. Somehow he is able to breathe.
Oh, you're thinking too much about that. You're not supposed to be thinking about that. Maybe there's
Uh,
magic. There's magic. There's Galactus has created an oxygen chamber, and it re-oxygenizes every 30 seconds.
I'll take that. Sure. Why not?
It seems like the best option. I don't know.
Meanwhile, Galactus continues his harvest. Superman is actually pursuing the torch, and Cyborg Superman, however, is just kind of flying around in awe of Galactus and trying to figure out a way that he can access the power of the Devourer of Worlds and rid himself of the Fantastic Four, who are obviously going to keep him in check.
Yeah. So then we get to the next the next page where Reed is like, as we've seen him squeeze through rivet holes before, he's like, there's not even a crack to get through or any of that jazz. And you see Superman just basically toss the Human Torch like he's a football into the turf, just knock him out. Ben's taken aback by just the sheer veracity of the of Johnny getting thrown. He's like, "Oh no." And then he's asking where that creepo is. What by creepo he means Cyborg, looking for his help. And then on the next page you have him, Cyborg Superman, saying that he's right over here. He's just trying to help. He was already ready to. He was already looking at where they were moving on because they were already getting ready to move on to the next planet because Galactus already accomplished his goals. And that's when Sue basically is like, yeah, Hank's right. Or she actually says Henshaw. Henshaw's right, Ben. It's time, they lost that battle, but the war is still on, so they need to get ready to move to the next battle.
Then we get probably my favorite two dialogue bubbles of this entire book, which Cyborg Superman saying, "Tough as nails, Mrs. Richards. I like that in a woman." Shut up, Henshaw. It's just the best. So Galactus, he tells Superman that the end of this planet is imminent, and Superman flies away as this planet is engulfed in energy, or rather has the energy sucked out of it, more likely by Galactus, and is reverted to a husk that then starts to dissipate within the vacuum of space. Um, and he looks at this destroyed, Superman looks at this destroyed world and obviously has a bit of agony in his eyes over what has occurred.
Yeah, it's a really good visual cue to see that like this is another thing that's breaking that pull that Galactus thinks he has over Superman, which is hard to do with just a guy that's in all gold.
It's true.
So as the husk is just floating there in space, when it's finally over, he moves on to the next, goes to go to the next. Well, he actually goes and talks to Galactus first before he gets basically told that you need to find me a world with far more energy. By energy, he means living bodies, in case you haven't figured that out yet. Um, and he basically tells him to be gone. Reed is said he's exhausted his every means of escape, and Superman is completely enthralled, and is contemplating the fact the what if they actually lost with looks like pure sadness in his eyes. It looks like his eyes almost want to well up there.
And why wouldn't they? So we move on to chapter 3, which is entitled Scourge. And what are we saying?
Oh yeah. So we have that Fantastic Four, the updated rocket ship taking off trying to trek where Superman was headed next. So they are basically have all their monitors going, trying to get a pickup on where Superman will be, and then Thing and Cyborg Superman get into it again, and Sue has to put up a visible wall so they don't kill each other before they accomplish their goal.
I must admit, I just, the true awfulness of Henshaw's dialogue really just sticks out to me in this.
Oh, the didn't figure you the type to hide behind a skirt, Grim. Dude,
Yep.
that's as bad as when Sue called him out for the flight, right?
Yeah, for being a coward. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice callback. But also
I'm
Cyborg Superman is just a jerk.
Cyborg Superman is terrible, and what kind did he have actual friends that went up with him, or did he just have people he kidnapped that he took to space?
So his ship was the Excalibur, and the crew. One of the people on the crew was his wife, Terry.
Fair
So, I
enough.
mean, at least she would have to be his friend, right?
I mean, we can hope.
Well, moving on. Apparently, it takes them several hours to travel across space. They come out of a what looks to be like a hyperspace wormhole, arriving at the next planet that Superman has found for Galactus, which Superman is very much trying to argue that this world has life and that Galactus should not do this because even he has to have a soul. But of course, Galactus, the last survivor of the previous universe, has now been turned into a force of nature within the cosmos. So his only priority really is survival. So the Fantastic Four get to deploying here. Uh, Sue sends Ben towards Superman on a platform. It's almost like a surfboard that goes speeding towards him. It's made by her invisible force fields. And Ben is just coming up and getting ready to punch Superman square in the face.
Yeah.
We come to another double page spread.
Yeah, you get a beautiful Bram as Superman detects the thing and just basically almost knocks his head off.
It's like literally a backhand punch as Ben comes at him from behind.
Yeah, he's like, I sense all. You really get a true thing of like the power of Superman in this book on the things like breaking that thing, how he easily punches the thing being terrified when he spikes Johnny off the ground. Like,
And you got to remember, this is Superman who's enhanced by the power cosmic.
yeah, I know. But the when he punched through the thing, he wasn't even enhanced through. That was just regular Superman. Like that's what I mean. Like you have to be you understand the power. There's like a different power level that he is on.
Could you
They
imagine if
should
this
have.
was the pre-crisis Superman? It would be ridiculous.
Oh my God, that would have been ridiculous. And then we have the thing crashing through. Like, what does he crash through? It's like a pipe.
I think it's Galactus' ship. It is definitely Galactus' ship.
Well, yeah, but it looks like a pipe to Galactus's ship. And then you get uh Superman saying not again, never, and Galactus figuring out that it's another betrayal, and he eye beams him, thinking that that was going to work, and you get the rest of them saying Superman slipped to our side, but they think that for he's out of it because Galactus beat him up so much. And then Cyborg Superman being super excited.
Yeah, so on the next page, thing, as I said, crashed through Galactus's ship, and he ends up landing right next to Reed's cell. Actually, he collides with it, creating a gap which allows Reed to escape. Reed then starts taking parts of Galactus's ship and begins to assemble a device. Meanwhile, Sue is using her invisible force field to keep Galactus from assembling a console that he needs to use to commence devouring the planet. Johnny is attacking the ship itself, while Superman, uh, still wrapped up in the power cosmic, is lying in rubble on the ground. Uh, Johnny, once again, with a bit of a ballsy move, goes and shoots fire directly at Galactus, but to no avail. Um, Cyborg Superman has infiltrated Galactus' ship in an attempt to find some way to make himself Galactus's equal, but he finds himself thwarted by the elastic limbs of Reed Richards. And while lying in the rubble, Superman spots something very important, the action figure of himself that Franklin gave to Sue for good luck.
Hmm. After we see that, um, so we have Henshaw being all wrapped up in that last page from Reed, and then you start the next page from Reed and Henshaw talking to each other. And basically, Reed is like not having any of Henshaw's BS. So he basically goes to attack him. And as he does it, Henshaw attacks him first.
Which leads to my favorite exchange here. I'm gonna just hop in because once Henshaw fries Reed to let him go, he calls him a pathetic loser. But the stony finger taps him on the shoulder and says, "Sorry, Pally, but I've been itching to say this all day and keep getting stopped. It's clobbering time." And just Ben nails him with a shot that sends him through the wall of the ship.
Yeah, it's a good Ben moment. After he'd been beat up most of this issue, it was a good Ben moment. And then after that, you get Superman fighting the power cosmic and slowly, basically shredding it from his body by just the force of will alone, and slowly stands up. And then you have the Fantastic Four running across the ship,
Reed and Sue are finally reunited.
and it feels so good. Anyway, I digress. They go running at Galactus.
And from off panel, you get, is this group exclusive or do you have room for one more? And we get a very iconic splash page here of Superman and the Fantastic Four. There, Superman in mid-flight, Reed stretching out of the background, Johnny flying alongside Superman, Ben just outright sprinting, and Sue riding on one of her invisible force fields. And they're in front of Galactus' ship, which is just spewing energy. It's a great background. There's at least, six Kirby crackles on this page, which just are incredible. Johnny says to him, "Want to sign up full time, Superman? Not hard to replace that S shield with a 5." So,
I was wondering how you felt about that. I felt really
uh,
weird about that.
you know what? It's fun. It's a fun bit. I like it a lot. Sue
Yeah.
actually asks Superman what brought him back. She notes that even before Galactus blasted him, she felt like he was beginning to turn on him. She answers on the next page.
Oh, yes, he does. So he explains that Krypton died under his supervision, as of the other countless planets, and he wasn't about to have it happen today or ever again, not under his watchful eye of Superman. So they all are there going to attack him. What looks like Sue's still trying to keep that controller from getting together. And then Galactus just puts them all in a bubble because he can. And then on the next page, he goes, now all I need to do is unite this ignition device and then all of the seas. And, he says that that planet will be devoured and pretty much instantly once he puts that controller together. And that's when you see the thing just start breaking the ship
I
so that
actually
it
think
can't.
it might be part of the architecture of the planet that the Galactus is standing upon. He begins to tear that up, therefore upsetting his footing.
Yeah, so they rip it open. They discuss that the key to defeating Galactus lies inside, and Reed and Superman head into the ship, or at least whatever this controller, this device that devours the planets for Galactus is, and they go use their Reed's extreme intelligence and Superman's extreme speed, as it looks like he has six hands there for a second. But we are missing one of the six that were chasing Galactus out of these panels.
We are. I'm sure he'll rear his ugly head one more time. Superman's impressed that Reed can work with alien technology the way he does. Galactus begins to notice that they are interfering with him on more than one level. Sue has an invisible force field that's keeping him from uniting the ignition device. While Reed and Superman work, Sue and Ben try to keep him distracted. And then Reed gives the order to Sue to drop the force field. And when she does, Galactus finally unites those two pieces, but he finds that something is wrong, particularly that Reed and Superman have rewired his machinery that instead of siphoning energy from the planet into himself, the planet is siphoning energy from Galactus.
Yeah, that was an awesome read moment right there. So, then we get to the next page where Galactus is like, I can change this back in pretty quickly. Your actions are easily bypassed if I trigger new circuitry. So he has backup plans upon backup plans upon black backup plans. And that's when Superman comes by and just melts it. He's like, not if it's melted. Uh, so Superman gives him an ultimatum of leave or, keep losing your energy that you have. The little, I'm going to use this in quotations, little bit of energy you have left. And Galactus says he bargains with nobody. Reed says you have no choice because they're just going to keep doing it. And Superman says to him that he should only eat planets without life forms.
He makes him swear. He makes him
Yeah, he
swear to
does.
only eat deserted planets like he did earlier in the story.
So, Galactus then says that his word is bond, and that is as long as they would end the energy transference. And then Reed does it. He goes ahead and stops the system from transferring. Then we have Reed and Superman, like semi discussing, but it's mostly Superman discussing Adam. Superman's like he should pay for destroying Krypton, and you find out that he didn't destroy Krypton, which was one of
He
those questions.
he craved it, but he didn't eat it.
He
It
did
was
not eat
gone
it.
by the time he arrived.
Yep. The crystal was dispatched long ago, uh, in case one day he needed secure service, but it contained no such information of him eating the planet.
And because Superman calls him a liar, that he had sent the crystal to Earth himself, and that was the information in it, which leads to the revelation here, where Ben figures out who altered the information on the crystal, and Reed tells Henshaw that he needs to confess. And I love this because he's just such a jerk. Like, confess. That would imply I had something to hide. I chanced to encounter the crystal on its journey to Earth. It was relatively simple to alter its message to make you think Galactus ate Krypton. I knew a Boy Scout like you would be incensed enough to go after him. And Superman grabs him. So you piggybacked a ride to this universe to get to him, to tap into his power, no doubt. Hey, they say conquest is good for the soul. Superman is obviously incensed over this and tells Henshaw that he sickens him and throws him. And then Henshaw, in all of his brilliance, goes to Galactus and says they aren't deserving of your powers and favors. But I'm like you, above concepts of good and evil, like you are. I beg you to bless me with the power cosmic. Let me be your faithful servant. Give me what I deserve. Give me perfection. And Galactus says, very well, and zaps him with his eye beams and just turns him into what looks to be about a 1 by 6 by 2 piece of steel.
Yeah, perfectly carbon steel.
But it doesn't have thought consciousness, or at least Reed theorizes that it doesn't. So they return to Earth, where Franklin runs to the hangar and finds that His family and Superman are all there, and Superman thanks him for sending the action figure along with Sue because without seeing that, he may not have made it back. Franklin says, "Wow, you mean you mean something I did?" Superman says, "Your help was invaluable, Franklin. Now, if your mother will permit me to give you a gift." On the last page of the story, we see Reed and Sue standing with Franklin, who is holding Superman's cape, while Ben and Johnny look up into the sky as Superman flies away. But that brings the story to an end. So, Shane, what did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun story. What about yourself, bud?
I thought it was a pretty fun story. Like I said, there was the point where I felt grounding it with the continuity within the continuity of DC versus Marvel from a few years back was a little unnecessary. I felt like it complicated things where they didn't need to be complicated. But on the whole, I thought this was a pretty fun romp, like a fun team up between, you know, DC's first hero and Marvel's, well, the first team of the Marvel age. I think Superman and the Fantastic Four actually work very well together. I also think that the idea of bringing Cyborg Superman in as he is a dark mirror of Reed Richards is a great idea. Um, even the potential of having Galactus be involved in Krypton's destruction makes sense. Again, that's the part where I think it would have been better if it wasn't them being separated by universes and requiring access to go through. Like if you just put them in the same universe and you say, "Oh, well, maybe it was part of the period where Superman was dead or is in exile in space where Galactus came to Earth," and you get the coming of Galactus story. Whatever. Timelines can match up and whatnot. But if you don't even have to mention it. If you just go, Galactus, I need to talk to the Fantastic Four. They've defeated Galactus, and you can just keep them in the same universe. But it is what it is. Overall, I like it.
Yeah, I had a fun time with it. The Hank Henshaw Reed Richards comparison was fun. I liked that in the middle of the book because it did look very concerning. I was getting worried for a minute. I figured that Superman was going to figure his way out, but I was like, man, we can't have Superman be the power like the next Silver Surfer. I know I've always worry when they do crossover books that they're just going to do something astronomically out of character. But apparently, the guys that were in all the editors on this book made sure that they kept it all well within the characters.
I know Mike Carlin. I know Mike Carlin was editor of the Superman books at this point, I do believe. So he was definitely, the guy to keep things on track there. And of course, Dan Jurgens is the Superman guy. Mark Gruenwald, before he passed, was an encyclopedia of Marvel knowledge, and I don't think he'd let them go. I don't think he'd let them do wrong by the Fantastic Four. I think Bobby Chase was also in the Marvel office, and I also think that she is very much aligned with that mode of thinking as well. So, four things. Unless you have any more you want to add there.
No, no. What I was going to say. I said we want to start your four things.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm gonna let you go first for favorite panel. I have my choices, but sometimes we pick the same one. I picked some runner-ups this week just in case to provide us some variation here.
Oh,
So,
dude, I have a bunch of runner-ups if we pick the same one.
what was your favorite panel this week, Shane?
Well, where the way I was reading it, it ends up being page like 12, I think, or I think it was like you said it was 8, 10 in your book or something like that.
Hmm.
And that's the panel where the thing's holding that weighted machine above him while talking to Franklin about this Superman the animated series.
Okay. Technically on my end, it's page 12. That is a great panel, though. It's a really cool rendition of the thing. I mean, I like how he is dwarfed by the machine and Franklin is dwarfed by him.
Yeah.
Plus the technology on display. This is just classic Fantastic Four tech. I particularly like the giant rivets, honestly.
They're giant rivets.
And the coloring, at least in my copy of the book, it has a real nice sheen to them.
Oh, this one does too. This one's not
So,
bad.
so what did you like about it?
Uh, so going back to like what I said earlier when came about this, is like it reminds me of the Superman always getting tested for what his power levels are from Star Labs and everywhere else, always trying to. So they always have him lifting up all kinds of ridiculous things with one hand, two hand, whatever. And I thought it was a good like juxtaposition to have this going on with the thing, especially as you see later on in this. Like when this crushes him, he needs Superman to get him out from underneath it, and later on you see Superman just smack him with one hand and he go flying just to see like because Superman can lift most of those up with one hand, and he's like struggling with this thing over top on over his back.
All right. So on my end, I'm actually going to go with the splash page on page 28, which is Superman meeting Galactus for the first time face to face in the company of Reed Richards. Reed's attempting to interrupt the meeting in pretty much the only way he can by wrapping himself around Galactus's foot. Um, and despite the fact that it is a completely like futile gesture, like Reed knows he's outmatched, but he has to do something. But yeah, just even with the kind of skewed perspective that's on this page, I just really like everything from the pose, the cosmos in the background. Um, it's just cool. Galactus looks menacing. Superman's herald form, I think, is really sold to me on this page. Like I said, I wish maybe it was more than just him being gold, but I don't know. It worked. Like I said, it's on brand. It works. And then,
Yeah,
of course, just like I said, Reed knowing that what he's doing is futile, but still doing it anyway. I mean, that's the mark of a hero.
he tried.
Yeah. So next up, we're gonna go with what were they thinking as our second go around. And for me, that is towards the end of the story on page 61 and 62. And that is Hank Henshaw confessing his plan in front of Galactus, and then he still has the gall to go up to Galactus and beg for the power cosmic. And then he immediately pays the price by being turned into a metal alloy block because Galactus knew he was trying to play him for a fool, and he still went for it anyway. And whereas the last panel I talked about showed Reed being a hero despite the futility, this one shows that Henshaw's an idiot.
Yes, yes, it does.
Like
That's
how do you think this is going to turn out at this point?
I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing, he wasn't going to get the power cosmic.
He definitely wasn't going to get the power cosmic.
What was your choice, Shane?
Um, it's well, for me, it says it's page 16. It's when it's the whole situation where Johnny's like, "Hey, you should get out from the machine," and the thing's like, "What do you mean?" And then he gets crushed by the machine that I just talked about was super cool.
So why is that your what were you thinking moment?
Because what the heck was he thinking? Johnny literally gave him a heads up, and he was like, "Uh, what do you suppose I do about it? Call the Avengers?"
Well, to be fair, there's a lot going on at this point, right? Everything's going crazy. Ben's been under this machine for hours now. I don't think he's thinking that's immediately going to slam down on him, but
Crush him.
yeah. And I mean, Johnny no more than says that, and it happens. So it's almost like he tipped Henshaw off to it, right?
Yeah, it seemed weird. I don't know. That was mine.
Okay. How about your page turner moment?
So my page turner moment is page 8. The bottom last panel there, with right before he gets interrupted by the crystal.
Okay.
So he's like people like you make, and then make dot dot dot, and then it goes, then it happens, and then you flip it to the next one, and then you just get to that green light, and it looks like he almost got shot by like like Krypton, like
Kryptonite.
kryptonite. Yeah, words are not happening, brother.
I don't know if I brought this up earlier or not, but you know what really bothers me about this couple pages here?
Uh, nope.
He never apprehended the terrorists.
We didn't see it happen on panel. I'm sure it happened.
He got shot by them, then the crystal shows up, and he gets distracted by that. And then instead of apprehending them, he immediately flies off to find Axis so he can go find the Fantastic Four.
Well, that's what they show in the book. I'm sure he did his
This
job
seems like a
first.
very direct line of events that happens.
Okay, fair enough.
And I mean, the caption even reads, "The terrorists and their weapons are forgotten as the searing pain knifes deep into Superman's mind." He never captured the terrorists.
Well, they don't have the bomb anymore, so
Let's go
I,
build another one. Next week, Maggie Sawyer's gonna be like, "Oh, geez, another one of these freaking things."
oh no, Timmy fell down the well again. We should
Superman's gonna
really.
show up and be like, "Hey, I just disarmed this thing." She's gonna be like, "It's another one." He's gonna be like, "Oh."
My bad. What was your page turner moment?
So my page turner moment was page 23, and that final panel on that page is it's actually the one with the big glow and it says Fasash.
Okay,
Because this is the moment right before we're gonna find out what Superman's herald form will be.
that's true.
Was I a little disappointed by the results? Yeah, but at least initially, yes. But at the same time, I was really anxious to find out what it was. So here we are.
Did you ever runner up for yours? Because I had a runner up for mine, and I have a
For
feeling it's the same one.
no, I didn't actually.
Because mine is definitely when the thing taps Hank on the shoulder.
Oh, that's not really a page turner moment, though, I don't think. I think that actually happens in the middle of a page.
For me, it was definitely not in the middle of a page.
Oh, yeah, you were reading that pirated digital copy. Oh, no, it was a page turner moment. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It definitely happened on the end of one page. Yeah. No, that's actually a really good one, too. But I don't know. I like the idea of Superman becoming the Herald of Galactus. And all right, MVP, who do you got?
Sue, because she seems to keep the whole team and all of this to going, or this whole thing falls apart real fast.
I thought about Sue. I really did, particularly because of her constantly having that force field up between those two ignition pieces, so Galactus couldn't start the ship, and she does it on like three occasions in this. Any other reasons why?
Uh,
Since I just told you mine, but
so there's that. So she does that. She keeps the thing and Henshaw from killing each other. She's the one that is like, "Hey, we need Henshaw to travel to get Reed." Uh, when they, she's the one that tells the thing like, "Hey, stop worrying about this battle. There's still the war. Like, we need to go get Reed." The whole thing is the reason we're out here is to get Reed. Like she is the driving force for them to go get Reed and Superman.
she's the captain of the team. But as we know, the captain of the team is not always the most valuable player.
Except for she was in this one.
She was your most valuable player, which I won't take that away from you. I got a different choice. So I went for the MVP of the story being Franklin Richards.
For giving the Superman action figure to Sue.
Yeah, a child. No, it's so cool. Like think about it. It's such an innocent plot point, but a child's toy saves Superman and therefore saves the day. Without
Yes.
Franklin, they don't get Superman back. Without Franklin in probably the sweetest, most wholesome moment of the book, without Franklin giving his mother a Superman action figure to take along for good luck. and then that action figure ending up next to Superman when he lands on the ground. Like Superman stays like enthralled, or at least he isn't able to turn back to his normal self. As long as he's imbued with the power cosmic, he probably has the opportunity to get re-enthralled by Galactus. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go for Franklin Richards, and also I just like Franklin in this story. I like that he's this Superman super fan, and yeah, he in the end just plays a key role in saving the day. Plus, he ends up with Superman's cape. That's awesome.
Yeah, it does. It does end up with Superman's cape.
So where you can find this story, you can buy it for either way too much money on eBay or something right now for like $100. I don't recommend doing that. Like I said, Overstreet has it priced at 10. Don't overpay for it. I'm gonna piss off so many comic retailers by saying that. And I'm sorry, guys. I used to run a store, but I don't think it's worth $100. As far as collections, though, you can find it in DC/Marvel Crossover Classics #4, which is a trade paperback that was released back in September 2003. There is also DC versus Marvel Omnibus, and that was released last year in October 2024, of which I am a proud owner. Any final thoughts on Superman Fantastic Four: The Infinite Destruction?
No, I don't think I have anything. I think we covered everything pretty much while we went through the story. It's a fun romp. I wish it wasn't $60. I would like to have this laying around because I would definitely reread it every once in a while.
We've had a good run of stories so far between this, Fantastic Four Volume 1, #4 last week, and what was it? Marvel Team Up 61 the week before that,
Oh
right?
yeah, that
Like
was a great one.
a lot of good stuff. So how about we switch gears up next week, huh?
Oh,
And continue our journey down the road of Marvel Knights and do Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4 #2 by Grant Morrison and Jay Lee.
yep. Let's do that.
You knew this was coming, pal.
I know, it's fine.
We started it. We have to finish it.
Yo, it's okay. We said we were gonna do a trek through the Fantastic Four. There's gonna be stuff I hate. There's gonna be stuff you hate. That book's really hard. I'm in a better headspace than I was that time. So maybe I won't hate it as much, but I have a feeling, judging by the cover, I'm gonna hate it.
I will say, since we started that panel by panel, we should probably finish it panel by panel. We'd like to thank you for joining us once again this week on the Fantastic Four Fancast. Uh, if you would, we would highly appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple or a review or a comment on Spotify. Sign up, subscribe, get us in your podcast feed every week. We also have the Facebook group, the Fantastic Four Fancast. Really trying to hype that up because right now we don't have a lot of discussion going on in there. If anything, it's just me doing post on this day in FF history, which has been fun to do. But I would love to get a little more interaction in that group, and we put up all the new episodes in there as well. Also on Instagram, which is at Fan4Fancast. That's FAN, the number 4, FANCAST. You can also contact us by email, which is fan4fancast@gmail.com. Again, that is FAN, the number 4, FANCAST@gmail.com. All right, Shane. Well, I'll let you keep getting in the right headspace to break into more Grant Morrison and Jay Lee next week. And we will see you all next time.